Hey guys, welcome to my live Q&A, which is not live at all. Had a bit of a nightmare trying to get this organised tonight after work, after coaching. By the way, for context, if you hear rugby players shouting outside, that's because there are rugby players shouting outside. I'm in my office, just finished my work on a Friday night, and I thought I would take the time to answer some of your questions. So I have some questions already that I was going to start the live Q&A with. I will do a live Q&A once I figure out all the details, but I just could not be bothered figuring out how to get it all set up. There's a whole process. So listen, let's just get into the questions that you asked me during the week through Instagram and also a YouTube post. Now, first one is going to be from Simon. Thanks for all the info. And Simon essentially is just asking, how do I plan my sprinting sessions? Do I segment it into elements of acceleration, change of direction, deceleration, how long do I plan a session for, etc, etc. So that's fine. Let's get started with that. Typically, depending on our season, and obviously I'm looking at this in season just now, what we're looking for is exposure to short and sharp sprints in a week, and then we're looking for exposure to sort of more top end max speed running in a week. Depending on the role of the player or the position, I should say, will depend on like how much exposure you want, and if you want to turn that exposure into an actual more of a stimulus. So typically, to just get a little bit more practical here, we'll do a 6-week block of a focus on linear acceleration, and that'll be with resisted sled sprints, that'll be with a certain type of plyometrics and the gym program geared towards that. That might also include certain warm-ups on certain days on the pitch. So that'll be a 6-week block. Now, obviously within rugby there is agility, there's change of direction, etc. So nothing's being neglected, but that will be the main focus, and we want to see change on that. When it comes to change of direction and agility, of course, they're two separate things, but in a 6-week block, it might be that that's the focus, like both of those things. And it might be that within a session there, we start a 6-week block with more change of direction type work, and then we progress on to more agility type work where the players are having to react to various situations. So that is kind of where we go through. I always look to get one of those in a week. That's really important. And then in terms of top end speed, using the GPS to guide like what the players have done, and understand if we need to add in some top end speed there. So hopefully that answers the question around that. I'm just checking to make sure that I have, can I break it down into elements? Yeah, so if I was to break it down again into reasonably broad strokes, then we'd be doing a general warm-up, and then we'd be doing something. And if you check on my channel, there's videos of example sessions. We might be doing 1 or 2 skill drills. So for example, we might do a cutting step exercise, and we might be focusing on the cutting step, and I might have 3 drills that I want to progress in that window that I have of that session. So it might be like a 45-minute session, and I'm doing these 3 drills over 20 minutes, provided that I'm seeing that the players are executing like the first drill well. Then I'll go, okay, we can progress on to drill 2, etc. And then at the end, we'll finish with some sort of stimulus. I say at the end, it might be 20 minutes, it might be 10 minutes, around the theme of that session. So if it's a cutting step, we'll make it live. The players might have to either, depending on the focus, they might have to react to an external, like me saying, left, right, up, whatever, in a certain scenario, or there might be a predetermined, it might be using a cone or whatever, you have to get here, get there, etc. Depends on where we are, but we generally always start with change of direction, focus, and then sort of go from there. Even simple things like, let's talk about wall drives, shall we? Let's talk about it. So from an acceleration point of view, there's so many things on the internet just saying that this doesn't make you faster, and it's just like taking one little thing. And also usually the people that are critiquing, they're critiquing someone that said, hey, do this drill to get faster. It's like, nah, that forms part of a speed session. Maybe you're just warming up the tissues that you're going to use with the velocities that you're going to use, but in a much lighter way. Like, there's so much taken from the internet, or you'll never find on my channel, I don't think so, not in the future, and it's certainly not in the past, where I am slating other coaches. I believe in a style of, if I can call it education, certainly not entertainment because I'm not funny, so it has to be more in the education category, You'll never find me slating a coach. I feel like if there's something super unsafe and someone asks me about it personally, I'm going to say. If there's a bunch of people asking me about the same thing and there's an exercise that's super unsafe, then I'll use that as an example to say, guys, this is unsafe, so don't do that. But I'll never slate a coach. I never really get that. I just believe in providing good information, and people will choose based on the results that they get, and that's, I've gone on a big tangent here, and this is why I should not go live, because these tangents are very boring. I do this when I do presentations as well, and I just tell people to stop me. Unfortunately, when it's not live, no one can say, Fraser, shh. But yeah, I've lost my train of thought, but it's really important that you take the full context of things. And what I was going to say is, a lot of these coaches, I don't know if they don't post results. So it's, when you're in charge of a team, if you're not getting results, you're not going to have money for your family to live. It's pretty much that simple. So there is an element in the program where you have to try new things to evolve and understand, where you can make changes and if these changes are actually effective. We're going internal research. We're going through that now with primers. But yeah, it's I would follow coaches that around speed training and other capacities that guys are talking about on the internet, that have a record of getting results, and just do your homework on that. Anyways, yes, so that's a speed question and a little tangent for you. It is cold in the office, so I've got the old BRG hat on. There you go. Okay, there was a follow-up question to that. Let me get on to the next question. Yes, okay, so Simon also asks, regarding youth, do you have any fitness or strength standards you would like them to achieve before going on to open age or senior rugby? So yes, absolutely. So tracking youths, it's not a clear-cut situation of, oh, you don't achieve X, you can't take part in Y. However, standards are really important that players understand the game demands of senior rugby in terms of fitness, in terms of speed, in terms of momentum and contact, and understanding that if we look at strength, if you're speaking to a player and you take away all the sort of momentum and all that stuff and just be like, look, you're going up against that guy that squats 200 kilograms, and that's why we need to do this period of training here, because you're going to be a 210 kilogram squatter, trust me, but we need to go through this process, and 110 right now just isn't going to cut it for senior rugby, which is fine because you're 16 and you've got time to get there. So that could be one example of how to frame a conversation, although I'm sure there's a better way to do it if I'm not just rattling out to a camera on a Friday night at the end of a working week. However, yes, the standards are there. If you go to my standards video, which I'll link here, you'll see how I kind of structure it here at Biella and what the standards are. There's lots of conversations on the back end that I have with coaches around, like, that guy is not ready to play senior rugby physically, and as long as an S&C coach you have that conversation, then you can say why. Like, so where is he in relation to the cohort of athletes that are playing Serie A? Like, okay, he's at the bottom 10% of speed, he's at the bottom 10% of strength across these metrics. And it might be a case in a position where, like, you're going, listen, and I've had this with coaches, they're going, listen, he seems to handle contact really well. We're going to bring him in off the bench here against this team, which is perhaps not like the top team in the league, and we're going to see how he goes. And then, you've said your piece as an S&C coach, you're going, totally appreciate that, he's a good rugby player. I have concerns about this, but obviously you're the head coach. You know, you might come in and say, is there, if you're not stepping out your lane too much, is there any way we could utilise X, Y and Z? I think given another 2 months this guy could be here if we put him on an individual plan and we get nutrition support around, etc, etc. So it could be really quite broad, but the numbers just guide, so it can be really quite specific, but the numbers just guide those conversations and obviously the guide training, and you need to know where you want your players to go and where they are in relation to what the game requires. And of course, standards are just sort of like that's where everyone's at. You know, then go on, once you get to the standard, go on and smash it, son. But that takes time. Anyway, hopefully that answers your question, Simon. Was that Simon? Yes, I think it was. So now we're going to go on to Alex. So Alex asks, sorry, I have to zoom in on my phone here. He's asking about game day recovery tips, not necessarily for muscle recovery, but more recovering from bruising. Okay, and you just have to know when to be quiet, and this is one of the ones that I have to be quiet on. So I cannot guide you on that. I need to revisit recovery from that side of thing. In terms of bruising and whatnot, I couldn't give you a great answer there, so I'm not going to make something up. You see now cryo chambers and the stuff that the pros are using, and they also used it 10 years ago. There's so much mixed research, but you asked specifically about bruising, and the answer is I don't know how that affects. Personally, I like to do contrast baths or showers. So ice cold, and then, or as cold as I can get the shower, and then warm, and that's after getting beaten up on open mat in jiu-jitsu, or after fights. I don't know, listen to my words now, I don't know if that makes you speed up the recovery, or that's a personal thing for me, like a psychological thing. You know, I don't know the evidence on that. I would definitely have to revisit it, because last time I did look at that side of things, it was certainly mixed in terms of the research. So in terms of bruising specifically, after the gym, you know, if you didn't ask about muscle recovery, after the gym, compression stuff is always a good idea, and after heavy running volume, then contrast baths or showers are a good idea. But in terms of actual like taking contact and bruises, that's one that I wanted to be clear that I'm not clear on. The other two, reasonably clear on. Okay, how do I maintain? Alex also asks how can I maintain fitness during the season? How many miles a week should I be covering outside of training if I'm training once a week and I play fullback? So listen, to maintain fitness in season, short, sharp, high intensity works really, really well. It's not a question of miles per se. Now, if you go to my Instagram, for example, the first thing you'll see that's pinned is a 2.5 minute high intensity intermittent running drill. That will be enough to maintain fitness. Now, when you have a block of a period where you're able to rest, then that's definitely something you can maybe think about putting in a little fitness block there beyond one top up a week. But if you're just looking at maintaining, then, or you can go to my How to Get Fit for Rugby 2.0, where there's Malcolm's, there's a war drill. Doing one of the war drills at 11 minutes in total. It's intermittent, high intensity, reasonably. But you will certainly be able to keep fit with one session a week. I also have top-ups, if you need ideas, on my website. I can't even remember for how much I'm selling them, but do you know what? If you send me an email, who's this? So Alex, if I get an email from you saying, can you send me the top-ups? I will send you that document for free, and you will have lots of top-up ideas. So yeah, hopefully that gives you, you know, it's not so much about miles. Okay, we have another conditioning question from Chlim_824. How do you exactly program conditioning sessions for players? Really use GPS, and we might be looking at whatever metrics we're looking at that day. So for example, you know, there's a session where I want, and there's a 20-minute block where I want the players to be working when they're doing their system, their attack system, with a certain work rate. I have to feedback with the coach in terms of what he was doing and where we were, and we have a threshold that we want to get over. There's also like a max or a high-speed running threshold, etc., etc. To take a step back from GPS, always be systematic with your conditioning. A really easy way to look at it aerobically is to progress one thing at a time, and it might be a work-rest ratio of 1:1. and then 2-to-1. So maybe you do 1-to-1 for 2 weeks or 2 sessions or 3 sessions, then you do 2-to-1, and then you go 3-to-1, and then that's probably as hard as you're going to get. So for example, 2 minutes on. I'm saying M a lot, I'm sorry about that. It is what it is. 2 minutes on of whatever touch drill you're doing. We have an attacking game of touch, which works really well. Or let's just make it even so you're on the watt bike. Okay, you're on the watt bike. 2 minutes on, 1 minute off. Give yourself a target of whatever meters you need to cover there. The next session, 2 minutes on, same distance, same meters you're trying to get, 1 minute off, and then you're going down to 2 minutes on, 40 seconds off, for example. So always hitting the same meters. If you do that 3 sets of 6 reps, that's going to be a really effective conditioning session, and that might be over 6 weeks. So 1 day a week on the watt bike, you're doing 2 minutes on, 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off for 2 weeks, getting as far as you can in those 2 minutes, and then you just cut away at the time. That would be one way of doing it. Or even on the rower as well. I'm just looking up here at my whiteboard because I actually have some fitness examples that the guys will come in sometimes and be like, boom, you're on that top up. So we got 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off in the rower. You try to get 150 meters there or thereabouts or more, depending on how effective you are with your rowing technique. With 30 seconds off, and then the same things I just described the next session. You come in, or maybe do that twice, 3 times. Next time you come in, it's the 30 seconds on, same distance, 150 meters plus, 15 seconds off, and then you're going down to 150 meters plus with 10 seconds off. So there's lots of ways that you can organize your conditioning. That hopefully gives you a real example. Okay, next we'll go to Joe. So Joe is asking, okay, I find most weeks I can only get into the gym maybe 2 or 3 times a week. This may be due to recovery time. Joe's 34 and carries a few old injuries, as we all do when we are in our mid-30s, my man. Don't worry about it. Or if you have an actual injury that gives you pain, disclaimer, see a medical professional. I have to get that in there. However, yes, so what are some exercises and movements I can focus on to maximize the time that I have in the gym? Alright, so you're going for big compound movements. Okay, I'd be going for someone your age. I'd be going trap bar deadlift. You're just trying to use the gym to get as high force outputs. So you could use things like trap bar deadlift for your max strength work. You could use trap bar deadlift pulls for your strength speed work, and you could use trap bar deadlift jumps for your speed strength work. So you can cover 3 types of strength in there, or a spectrum of strength and power, if you like, just with the trap bar. So that's really good. If you go to my shorts, you'll see we've got guys that are doing trap bar for sets of 5 with 180, their max is 240. Then we'll have guys that are doing pulls with 110, 120, and they're just accelerating it and getting triple extension, almost like you would with a clean, but just a little bit more forgiving with the trap bar. And then we've got guys that are focused on the speed side of it, and they're just doing 70 kilograms and just really accelerating and jumping, obviously off the ground and higher than one can with 120. So definitely consider using the trap bar. It is quite forgiving on the old joints as you are in your mid-30s or 1 year off. And then from there, whatever's comfortable for the upper body. So definitely be going compound. You could use bench press, push press. I'd be typically trying to get in 2 strength lifts on both days. If you have 2 days, so it might be trap bar and then bench press, and then you do what I would classify as power circuits that cover the whole body. So there might be like pendlay row for 5 reps, then into push press for 5 reps, then into some sort of, it could be like a counter movement jump with weight. So you can definitely utilize circuits, but not in a sort of conditioning sense, but more of like I call them power circuits, because you're doing them for low reps. You're looking for velocity on the barbell, or just quality reps when you're doing your jumps, etc. And we actually do that with the group in here, who are not the full timers. So they're short on time. Time is always against us, and that works really well to maintain the qualities that we built in pre-season. So excuse me, If you're heavy on rugby and your recovery time is limited, then you are a player that just needs to feel good for the game and maintain the qualities that you did during summer. If you're a younger player, or even someone that's got more time to recover, you can definitely make changes during the season. So jump on to the video, complete guide to rugby and season guide or something like that, and you will get more information on that. Okay, let's go to Marco. No question, just thanks for the great tutorials on YouTube and motivational things. Keep it up. Okay, Marco, thank you very much. I did appreciate that. I actually took a snapshot of that. Because as I said at the start, I can't remember, I've been talking too long if I said this, but definitely I'm on YouTube, but I'm not a YouTuber. It's definitely a part-time thing, and I'm happy to share information and guide people's training for the better where I can, but it does take time, and you know, it is quite a bit of work outside of my work, so it's really good and I'm happy to do it, but it's really nice to hear some positive comments, because let me tell you, there's a lot of negative comments, so to get a positive one, it kind of gives you a little, okay, I'll keep going with this. Good. Guys, I'm going to wrap up there because it looks like I've been talking for 20 minutes. I'm trying to see, did I take a snapshot of someone else? Listen, if you put in a question, I know there's questions I've not talked about here, and I got more on Instagram. If you put in a question, I will put it in the next time. I'll do my best to answer. And when we go live, then maybe that'll be an opportunity to just do some more quick fire questions. I tend to rant, I tend to go into a little bit more detail than is perhaps necessary to get the point across. However, I do want to give you full answers, and that's why I'm doing this. So yes, thanks for watching, guys. If your question was in there, then hopefully that answered it. If not, you'll let me know in the comment section and I will try a different way to explain it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next video if you subscribe. Cheers. Ciao.